Hi, we're Quaint and Curious Volumes. My name's James. I have been tagged for the chess tag. This is an original tag created by Aaron Read a Book, or maybe Aaron Read a Book. I was tagged by Reading Ideas. I think this is the first time he's tagged me, so I'm flattered, my friend, and so I shall do this tag. The prompts all relate to pieces on the chessboard. So, the first one is Pawn, a book about a lowly character that rises through the ranks. I thought of a couple of them, but the one I chose is an obscure fantasy series called A Song of Ice and Fire. It begins with a character named Jon Snow traveling to the Northland, where he's going to take up a position as a recruit with something called the Night's Watch. Through the course of this fantasy series, he rises to become, well, I don't want to spoil it, but he becomes rather powerful in the Night's Watch. And the series is not finished. I'm sure that by the end of it, he is a retired Night Watch commander who gets to retire somewhere in the south, maybe in Dorne, and just lives out his day playing the Westeros equivalent of golf. Someone told me there's a television series where they get to the end of the saga. Don't spoil it for me. I don't want to know. My headcanon is that's what happens to Jon Snow. Next, Rook, a book that features a castle, a tower, or a chariot. Now this is interesting because I've not ever seen a chess set with a chariot. I've seen elephants and towers and castles. But anyway, so I picked chariot. And my book is Ovid's Metamorphoses, which has a very famous section where a character named Phaeton, who is the son of the sun, literally the sun god, convinces the sun to let him, Phaeton, drive the sun's chariot for a day. So so Phaeton gets in the chariot and is not able to control it. The horses are not used to being the four horses that pull the sun across the sky every day. They're not used to the lighter weight of this demigod instead of the usual sun, and he's unable. He doesn't have the experience and the skill to control this chariot, so it's wildly careening all over the place, setting everything on fire. And Zeus or Jupiter has to intervene by hurling a thunderbolt at the chariot and killing Phaeton, but saving the world from being set completely aflame. So that is Ovid's Metamorphoses. It's a long, kind of exciting scene about things just burning up, and later on in I think in like Dickens and Austen, sometimes people will talk about riding a phaeton, which is a kind of a horse-drawn conveyance named after Phaeton, the character who is driving this chariot. Next prompt is Knight, a book about an animal or animals. Bonus points if it's a horse. I'm going to say, and this is not really a book about, but it does have one, the Book of Numbers in the Old Testament. There's a character named Balaam, and he is a non-Israeli prophet, or he is not one of the Hebrew prophets, but he is a prophet, and he rides an ass or a donkey, depending on your translation. He's charged by his king to curse the Israelites, the Hebrews. Balaam will not do this because God appears to him in a dream and says, you better not do this. And the king basically says, you really ought to do this. God appears to him again in a dream and says, all right, you can go do this, but you can only say what I tell you to say. So Balaam the next day is like, all right, let's go do this. They're starting to travel to wherever it is they're going to do this cursing from. And God is mad. But God just told Balaam that he could do it the night before. So what's up with that? He sends an angel to block their path. No one can see this angel. That makes it a little more complicated. The only one who can see it is the ass upon which Balaam is riding. and doesn't want to go and confront this angel. So he's wandering this way and that way, and walking into a wall and crushing Balaam's foot. Balaam strikes his donkey several times, and eventually the donkey lies down, and Balaam's all enraged, and the donkey is given the power of speech and says, "Why are you doing this to me? I've carried you all over the place. I've never done anything to hurt you, and you're beating me with a stick." And Balaam says, "Well, why aren't you carrying, not, oh my God, you can talk, but why aren't you carrying me where I want to go?" And at that point, he's given the ability to see the angel. We could have spared all this trouble, but Balaam sees the angel, and the angel rebukes him, and he says, "I have sinned. I didn't know you were there," which seems like a contradiction. How did he sin by trying to do something that he didn't know he was supposed to do? And the angel says, "If you'd kept coming, I would have killed you and spared your ass." Anyway, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's got a talking donkey. The Old Testament. Okay, the Book of Numbers specifically. The Bishop, a book that features religious characters or members of a church. Bonus points for a bishop. So I'm going to name a book that has tons of religious characters, and that is Boccaccio's Decameron. It's a book where there's a lot of religious figures, monks and priests, probably bishops. They're not setting a very good example. So, when people think of the Middle Ages as especially pious time, remember Boccaccio, remember Dante, remember Chaucer. What are the clerical figures like in these books? Okay, next prompt. Queen, a book with a strong female character. I haven't read this in some time, but I really like it. It is The Amazing Adventures of Kavalier and Clay by Michael Chabon, and the character is Rosa Sachs. She is a young woman of bohemian and artist, and a very strong female character. If you've not read The Amazing Adventures of Kavalier and Clay, give it a try. It's very good. A little more about it. It's a sort of historical fiction set in the early 20th century. These characters are, well, they're not real characters. I think they're based on people from the early days of the comic books industry, and so they're creating these superhero characters. And there's also things going on in World War II, and some of the characters go and serve in the military during that, including a very long, memorable chapter that's set in, I think it's Antarctica. Yeah, so if you're into comic books and history and World War II and superheroes, yeah, that's a good one. So this is the last prompt, I believe, which is King, a book about a monarch or ruler. I've just been reading this, and so I have to say, or it's a reread for me, but this is a great character. It's Huckleberry Finn. There's a character who at first straggles onto Huck and Jim's raft with another character, and they don't seem to know each other. They're just a couple of wandering con men on the raft. One of the con men reveals that he is the disinherited Duke of Bridgewater, and the other character is thinking for a minute, and then he reveals that he is the long lost Dauphin. Yes, my friend, it is too true. Your eyes is looking at this very moment on the poor disappeared Dauphin, Louis XVII, son of Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette. The other con man says, "You at your age? No, you mean you're the late Charlemagne. You must be 600 or 700 years old at the very least." The Dauphin says, "Trouble has done it, Bilgewater. Trouble has done it. Trouble has brung these gray hairs and this premature balditude. Yes, gentlemen, you see before you in blue jeans and misery the wandering, exiled, trampled on, and suffering rightful King of France." So there you go. Huckleberry Finn with the King of France. So the last tag is on Passant. Tag some people. I'm going to tag the first person who ever tagged me, Hannah at Hannah's Books. I'm going to tag Randy Ray, the literate Texan. I think he's been tagged already. I'm going to tag Sterling Reed, Summer, Salutations Summer. I'm going to tag David Novak at David Novak Reads Poetry. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later. Bye.